So we are here today for today's breakfast bite. I'm Nathan Thomas, and I'm joined today by a guest from Torch Trust. It's Linn Davies. Hello, Lynn. Good to see you.
Hi, Nathan. Good to see you too.
I hope you are doing well today.
I'm doing very well. It's a lovely autumn day, as we just talked about before we hit record. And yeah, I think it's going to be a very productive day and a productive week for me. So I'm really enjoying that.
Brilliant stuff. Productive is always good. Sometimes we complain about things being too busy, but then it's actually quite nice to be kept busy. To have lots to do is actually quite a blessing, isn't it?
It is. I do think there is a balance because you really can be too busy sometimes, but I feel like especially on a Monday, I like being busy because Mondays are always a little bit, sad by the nature of being Mondays, I find. I mean, some people think Mondays are great, but it's that start of the week. Things can feel a bit heavy. So when I have lots to do, I don't really think about that. And then by the time I get to Monday afternoon, I'm like, I survived Monday morning. This is great.
Yeah, very, very true. Awesome. Well, what would be your thought for us this morning?
So I want to talk about an experience that I had about hearing God's voice. I was working for a few years in Nigeria. I'm an Afrobeat singer, which probably isn't very obvious looking at me, but I was very lucky to come out there and be able to record with some really talented singers. I was in a team when I was there that unfortunately were a bit inexperienced, and well, there was a mixture of inexperience and not wanting to promote me, thinking that I would then leave and do my own thing. And the situation became extremely toxic. So I then got a call to come and perform in Freetown, Sierra Leone, and I went there and I actually met my husband, but that's a different story when that happened. But I remember sitting on my bed in Freetown and I was just reflecting on how different the experience was from being in Nigeria. That like I'm being recognized as an artist, I'm getting performances, crowds are really seeing me. And I feel like this is really kind of the thing that God has called me to do is to make music. Although, having said that, I was in a very down period with my faith at the moment. So I was sort of rejected. I was in a sort of period where God wasn't important to me. He wasn't important in my life. So I didn't frame it that way. Um, but then I just heard this voice in my head, and it was like it wasn't a loud voice because I always think that God has this loud, sort of thunderous but soft voice. But it was a thought that said to me, if you go back to Nigeria and stay there, it will be the death of you. And I was like, no, 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 I'm just being dramatic. Like, yes, I had a hard time, and things were really difficult, and I wasn't very happy there, and I just wanted to go back to the UK. And then I sort of ignored it. And then a few days later, the day before we were about to travel back, in fact, I heard the same voice again saying, if you go back, it will be the death of you. And it was very strong and it was like very persistent, that sort of thought. And it came back again and again saying, like, you really need to do something about this. It will be the death of you. And I felt it then in my soul, like this is not just me being dramatic. This is a thought. This is something that's happening. And immediately I just knew that that is the voice of God. Even in my period of having rejected faith at that time, bear in mind I was raised a Christian, but I think we all go through periods some time or another where we might not have a strong relationship with God. And I remember calling the one person that I could trust in Nigeria, and I said, I know we're going to come back tomorrow. Can you please book me a ticket out of Nigeria for either the next day or the day after, because I need to go back to England. And I didn't explain anything else, but I did. And I think in hindsight, it really was God saving me from a situation that could have been really dire. So yeah, I just wanted to kind of focus on and it says throughout scriptures as well that be still, and know that I'm God. And I feel like that really also goes with listening out for God's voice. So that is the thing I wanted to share.
Yeah, that's really interesting. It is interesting that because you expected how God's voice would be, loud and thunderous and amazingly, booming perhaps, but actually we see it in a few times in Scripture where it comes in a very quiet, very gentle. A lot of the time, actually, sometimes it's just a gentle, as you've pointed out. It's like it was like a thought, a nudge, a prompting that something wasn't quite
Yes.
right, and it seems as
Hmm.
though God was sort of guiding you in a certain direction, which is really interesting. And you're absolutely right. We do need to be, you know, ready and able to hear God's voice. And it's amazing that He speaks to us even when we're not in a good place, even when we've kind of, I don't know, moved away from Him a little bit. So yeah, it's a really interesting story that. And thank you so much for that thought for the day.
You're welcome. And I do think that when you're in a bad place and you need saving, I think that's when you can really hear it because God makes sure that there is no doubt in your mind that this is what you must do. I think if I had been in a better place, I probably wouldn't have paid attention to it.
Interesting that. Very interesting indeed. Yeah, but that's a really good thought for us. And I think each one of us can learn something from that in that it's important to be, you know, have ears to hear, as Jesus often put it, have ears to hear, we're willing to hear what he has to say to us. Because, we could just shut them
Absolutely.
off and stuff. But God does have a bigger idea, a bigger picture of what's going on in our lives, so he can direct us, so which is really good. So thank you so much, Lynn. It's been a pleasure to speak to you today, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your week.
Thanks for having me.